speaking aloud while alone to improve your English conversational skills. And stay to the end to have a bonus tip to actually double your results. Greetings, colleagues. My name is Timothy Barrett, and this is the 4 Business English Rundown. This is the show for all those who want to improve their professional communication skills in English. Today we're going to talk about speaking aloud and how to improve your English conversational skills. Let's get into it. This is a great way to improve your speaking ability in English. Whether you just want to improve your ability to converse with other people, or maybe you're preparing to give some kind of formal presentation or that sort of thing, public speaking. Either way, speaking aloud is awesome and very powerful. So when you're home alone, or maybe you're in an office alone, if you're driving in your car alone, whenever you get a chance and you're by yourself, speak out loud in English. Now, what you talk about isn't that important. Some is better than others. But if you're reading something, read it out loud. That's great practice. And it's also an advantage because you don't have to think about what you're going to say. You're just reading some text. And again, it doesn't really matter what it is. Maybe you're reading a news article, you're reading a book, you're reading a report, something like that. Just read it out loud. And try to get the best pronunciation and the tone, that sort of thing. Work on that as you speak. Of course, if you have to read a lot and a lot to get through, it's going to take longer if you read it out loud. So you might not be able to do it for everything, but if you take a little bit of time and read aloud, it's going to improve your speaking ability. Now, besides reading, what else can you do? Well, you can have a conversation with yourself. I know I do this all the time, maybe not speaking aloud, but you relive a conversation that you already had. You had a discussion with one of your friends or colleagues, coworkers, or maybe with your boss, or maybe with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, something like that. You had a conversation, but you kind of relive it like, oh, I wish I would have said this. What if I had brought up this point? Oh, he said that. I should have brought this other argument. You just kind of relive some conversations, or you're preparing for a conversation. You're going to have a big conversation with your boss, or you have a meeting with a client, something like that, and you kind of go over it in your mind. I think this is very helpful in general, but try doing it in English out loud. Now, even if when you actually have that meeting or you have that conversation, you're not going to be speaking in English, you're going to be speaking in whatever your native language is, that's fine, but just practice doing it in English. And play both parts. What would they say? What would you say? If he says this, she says that, what is your response? And just have that conversation. And again, try to get the pronunciation right. Try to pay attention to the grammar and make sure everything is said correctly. But do your best coming up with that conversation. And a third variation of that is to imagine a conversation. What if you were in a situation you don't anticipate to be in, but what if you won the lottery? What conversation would you have, with your wife or your husband? Or what would you tell your boss then? Or something extraordinary happens, what would you say? That sort of thing. And the content isn't that important. It's just to get yourself talking, to use different vocabulary, try the grammar, make sure that you're speaking correctly as best as you can. But that's a great way to get used to it. Get yourself pronouncing those words correctly, building that vocabulary, and it's going to improve your conversational or speaking abilities. Another thing to try is to pause the video. You're watching a video, something happening, if it's a drama or something happening in the scene, pause it, and think, how would you answer that next question? Or what would you say? Throw yourself in that scene. How would you explain this situation or this problem? If the character is trying to convince another character to do something, how would you do it? Maybe even before you listen to what actually happens in the show, think about how you would explain it. I know a lot of times you watch movies or TV shows, and this probably happens naturally. Like, why didn't he bring this? Why didn't he say this? Why he just all he had to do was explain this one thing, and the other person would have agreed or whatever. So just have those conversations in English. Or on a little bit more advanced level, I think if you watch like politics, news, any type of debating shows, things like that, when they're kind of debating back and forth, one person brings up an argument, the other person brings up a counter argument. When they get asked a question, or when one side finishes, hit the pause button and then put your shoes of the other speaker. Okay, what would I say if I were in that conversation, or I was in that debate, or having this discussion? How would I make my argument? If I'm for this or against it, or whatever it is. Again, it doesn't really matter, but put yourself in the shoes of the speaker and try to make the best argument that you can make. This is probably the most advanced method of the ones that we've talked about, because of course you're using your pronunciation, your vocabulary, and your grammar, but now you're kind of thinking deeper thoughts. You're trying to make logical arguments or counter arguments, point out fallacies, falsehoods that the other side has made. And so this is a very advanced form of thinking or speaking. And so this is a great way to practice those skills and improve your English, whether you want to improve for conversation or public speaking or anything like that. And it doesn't matter if you don't want to be a debater, maybe you don't even care about these issues that these two people are talking about or discussing. But by practicing and preparing for it, your English is going to get better. So this is really a great way to improve your English speaking skills. Now, I think this is the first time I've done this, but I did promise kind of a bonus tip at the end. So thank you for staying with me. If you really want to boost this to a whole nother level, although what we've talked about is very effective, it's very great, I stand by it. But another level might be to record that conversation that you have. When you start speaking by yourself, turn on your smartphone and record it. And then go through the conversation, whatever it is you're going to do, and then stop the recording and play it back. This can be the most difficult part of it, because most of us don't want to hear ourselves or see ourselves. I say that, and now I'm thinking about, I'm going to have to edit this video, and that's not my favorite thing in the world to do. I see all my mistakes, all my bad mannerisms or tics or anything like that. But that's how we often improve. When I was a lawyer speaking in court, I often had the mistake of saying, like everybody does, ahs and ums, that sort of thing. And I tried to work on it, but you're busy with other things. You got other things going on, that you're trying to improve as well. But the first time that I had to listen to a recording of myself in court, I had a motion or something, and maybe we're going to appeal it, or we had another hearing on it or something. So I got a audio recording from the court reporter, and I had to listen to it. I'm like, okay, what did I say? What did they say? And I was like, oh, so many ahs, so many ums. Each one is like painful to listen to. But by listening to it, that's how I really improved, why I stopped doing it. And of course, I still do it sometimes. I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I'm a heck of a lot better than when I started. And so often by listening to yourself, you can be more critical, so don't take it too negatively. Just try to improve with it. But by listening, you'll hear some of the mistakes that you made. You'll hear, like, wait a second, that sentence doesn't even make sense. What the heck was I saying? Or, gee, I didn't do subject-verb agreement. The verb didn't agree with the subject, or, something else was wrong with the grammar. You'll notice those things, and then try to improve the next time. Now, as you notice those things, if it's just a one-off, like, oh, I made a mistake with this one word, but you don't make a mistake with that word again, or whatever that was, then don't worry about it so much. Just try to pay attention and improve. But if you notice the same types of mistakes again and again, maybe, gee, I always have problems with subject-verb agreement, or I always use the wrong tense, or, gee, this word I have trouble pronouncing. This word I have trouble pronouncing. Anything like that, then okay, just keep a little notebook, write that down, or on your computer, or smartphone, just kind of log that down, and then later maybe spend some time on it. Pay attention to that and try to improve it. If it's a word, spend some time just pronouncing the word, practicing it. If it's something else, pay attention to that, or come up with some exercises, that sort of thing. Maybe have videos on it. Who knows? If you have suggestions for more videos, put them in the chat, and I'll see what I can do. But whatever your problems are, if you can identify them and then try to focus on them, try to improve them as you go forward. But by watching those videos of yourself or audio recordings, whether it's a video or audio recording, either way is good. But you're really going to drastically improve even more than without it. Although, of course, it is more time consuming. So I hope that you enjoyed these tips. What do you think? Have you practiced these before? Are these things that you're already doing? Or are you going to give them a try now? Let me know in the chat. All right, it's time to conquer that like button and make it ours. Please like and subscribe. Please watch some of my other videos. If you like this one, you're sure to like the other ones as well. Remember, work hard today and enjoy tomorrow.